Hi, I'm Mr. Yang. Today I want to talk about the procedure of e-learning content development and position. I think you will take the manager position, so I will more focus on the PM's perspectives and also match up your development pace work. Now, you will make a syllabus and manuscript, so this time you later study PM position and SME position today. Okay, here we go. This is today's subtopics. Firstly, I will talk about procedure of content development, and I will ask it with a basic instructional design model. Second, position of content development. We will look closely at the PM position. I think today's lecture is more interesting than other times because I can ask my experience for you guys. Firstly, I want to introduce the Korean food. I think all you guys love a pizza. What is your best pizza restaurant? I suppose many people think Europe or America. That is correct. I also think there is place of origin and very delicious. Sure, pizza taste in Africa also great. I got a good memory over there. But I want to recommend to visit Korean #1 pizza. The name is Mr. Pizza. You cannot find any differences with those photos with the other pizzas. But I'm sure when you remind Korea after visiting invitation training, you cannot remove the Mr. Pizza on your head. The Korean pizza is kind of a premium food. The price is a little bit high and hard to find one topping pizza. Take a look close at this picture. A fluent ingredient and rich cheese, especially those are lobster and steak. Let's try it. This is the second lecture of instructional design. I will take more approach for a content development than first lecture. That means today's lecture is important. I wish you guys remember all slides. Let us check today's learning goal. We will study the procedure of development and position. I want to introduce the career map of instructional designing. You can think which situation do you have. In Korean case, we usually take the operation at the first year. That time need a manual. When the new workers take an exact working role, the time will be passed around 3 years around. Almost after 5 years, experienced people can take a manager position. We expect the 5 years experienced workers can make one e-learning contents by themselves in Korea. Director position can take 3 or 4 contents development projects at once with several teams. After that, workers can take a big project. It is related not only content development, but also involve equipment, construction, system development, and others. I want to know which situation you are. If you skip the previous step and taking a big project directly now, I wish you study hard on this time. This training can give you information from the first step to third step because the fourth and last step have to understand these 3 steps. Well, if you do not have any position now, you have to know how to work as a PM position because you have a high rate or chance to take the project suddenly. I made this surprise condition on next slide. This is your smartphone messenger. Look at the message from your super top boss. Sounds like a president. Hi, I want to take the e-learning project, make one e-learning content in 2 months. I believe you. Can you do it? We will also make one content during our training. So we can suppose I'm a manager position to make an e-learning content during our training. When you finish up the training, you could run all the position of e-learning content development and skills. And also you could get your own content. That means you don't have to prove what did you do in Korea. You will take these 3 processes for the content development simply. Actually, the instructional design work is not just the design part, I mean drawing. Planning and development also needed ID work. That's why the ID position is easy to take a PM position. That means PM should know the ID work to think backward. Look at the first step. I also ask the necessary thing simply. Planning needs syllabus and design needs manuscript. Without them, you cannot do anything. That's why our pre-course output is the 2 things. Actually, we need many documents more, but you can fill out the all output. Now let us look into the more academic point of view. The basic of e-learning instructional design model is ADDIE. The name from the first letter of the word, ADDIE. Normally, experts say ADDIE model is everything. You can make every e-learning content with ADDIE model. You also can find other instructional design model, but I want to say you have to run the ADDIE model as a basic firstly. We will also study more about this model in our invitation training. Today, we just briefly sweep out the concept. Every IT project has input and output. E-learning also similar. We are familiar with output more because we have already seen some of e-learning content. So let us look at the output firstly and understand what should we prepare the input to fill out the final output. This is the e-learning final output with a learning flow. Now you can ask me, this is a final output, I know. So how to find the ADDIE model on the final output? ADDIE model is one of the instructional design model. You can think the model is process to make this final output. Every expert has their own development process, but the basic is ADDIE model. So you can understand how the ADDIE model is important, especially explanation of ADDIE model was one of my graduate school entrance exam question. Let's look at the model once again. You should capture this slide with your eyes. You can think, what should we make something for the e-learning content? You can check which process is making an input until development. From the analysis to development process is making an input. And right side is managing with output. Do you think only one person can make all the input through the process? Definitely not. This is why we have to share the process into the position. Now, we will divide the process by position. The input is wide point of view for the learning content. So I will ask the input as multimedia source. Every position is making a multimedia source in content development field. Look at the next page. I will ask you easy concept. I expressed you at the first lecture, the e-learning content is multimedia. Yes. For making the e-learning content output, we have to combine several media sources from the expert position. Look at the bottom side of picture. Bicycle outlined forward by 6 persons. Every person provides their power to bicycle. E-learning is similar. Every position makes their own message with media to learner. You have to hold the wheel to combine the media sources as a e-learning content. You could understand what does that mean after training. I will tell you this slide at the last time. Now you are complicated and you feel like today's lunch is not tasty. But I recommend you take a step by step. And trust me, I will pave a road for you guys. I prepared relaxed time. I will ask you the Korean IT issue. In 2016, this is the year of turning point for Korean IT industry. Sedo Lee is Korean #1 Baduk player. Do you know Baduk? The English name is Go. He has legendary reputation. People called him as a genius. But he loses 4 games suddenly. Actually, the competitor was artificial intelligence, AI. The name is AlphaGo. You know why it could be a big issue for Korean people? Historically, the Korean people thought the artificial intelligence AI can win the chess game, but Badu is too complicated. Because of too many number of cases, the Baduk, the Go is too complicated. Korean people thought Baduk is a smart humans game, but anyone can win at steadily. However, the AlphaGo has new technology to run that is deep learning to study by self. I'm not sure to call himself or herself. Anyway, all Koreans were shocked. Koreans realized the machine can study and thinking as human. Now you can see every Korean industry and government office research title were changed. You could find a similar research paper name or specific slogan in Korea everywhere, leading the first industrial revolution, like that. However, many people worry about it because they concern about their job roles to replace by AI. Anyway, this is my opinion. Do you know the Korean characteristic? This is quick temper, boiling quickly and cold quickly. Fourth industrial revolution is coming, right? No doubt. But I think it is too much issued in Korea now. Okay, let us remind the memory. We do not try to expect too much at the first attempt. I will quickly ask you the summary. I told you the concept of output and input with a position. Those are e-learning content style as a final output, and people take each position to make their own media source for the final multimedia output style. Now, let us focus on the position. We can make position simply as three parts: SME, ID, MD. We can match up the output also simply: SME, manuscript, ID, storyboard, MD, multimedia source. You could understand the output by position simply, and the positioned people can think those work is main task. However, actually, I don't like to make the work simply. In the industrial field, many experts thought the other position make only one output, such as MD think SME only make for a manuscript, ID only work for a storyboard, like that. But that is not true. You do not pass somebody's takedown the other position work. Everyone has to work more than expected range. Therefore, I want you to know PM position perspective. Let's move on to the next page. The every multimedia source style could be different by PM. For example, let us try to tell me your basic style of e-learning image. If you heard all of your basic style of image, it will be different each other. The person in charge for the whole content development process is PM. That's why content character, expression method, even process will be different by PM. But remember, PM can change the process by himself, but the basic is any model. PM should control all the steps. But you can think when your company or supervisor approve to put manpower on your project exactly after the planning or proposal is passed. So try to count. You can put expert on the all steps, but exam of analysis part. It will similar with other business projects. Therefore, many PMs thought the important thing is realization of business model. But this level of manager working is for a developed professional company case. You can think your organization e-learning contents PM is manager and also expert together. Organization will not put enough manpower for the new team normally. I want to give you a question. What should you do to get the experts? That is the same question as how to make a good e-learning contents development project. You have to do very well on the next page, early pace work. PM has to do many things in early pace. If you know a little bit about the content development work, you can say those same works are ID work. You can give these works to ID, but 3 reasons those work are probably processed by PM. First reason, You can take PM with ID position together at the several project. And second reason, your ID expert is probably doing on other courses storyboard working. Third reason, you have an experience of it. That means other people doesn't have an experience of early phase work. I will ask you work process with role playing in invitation training. You also make a content with this process. I think all members could be a manager, so it will be interesting experience for you guys. I will talk you other position work in invitation training because you will take an SME position in pre-course period. You will forget without practice. So I will introduce the other position work briefly now. PL, project leader, SME, subject matter expert, ID, instructional designer, MD, multimedia developer. You need project leader when you take a big project. Nobody can control at all the contents by oneself. Look at this. This is big project formation. You can think MD is kinds of team, include video taking, editing, design, motion, program, ID task, possible number of subject, and also one of ID take the PL. In many cases, one ID takes one MD team, so we call the ID as a PL several times. I have a question. If you are manager, which position you have to select carefully? ID, MD. The experienced answer is SME. Take a look at the picture. Doctor just focus on his business behind the team member. Somebody think it is normal. Seriously? His job is doctor. You have a stereotype. Doctor is always busy and he is not our team member. He is just a professional worker to work everywhere. Probably your perspective of SME is similar. What if you contract with a professor as a SME for your content development? Can you think he or she is your team member? You have to find the outstanding SME for your content. Professional SME can help your analysis and planning paper. Of course, do not late. Those work are strongly related SME work with PM position. When the SME does not have a collaborative attitude, you will late syllabus. Then you will late the planning and cannot fix the technology application. E-learning content project is required to keep the development period. PM and ID should focus on making a collaborative circumstance. You can keep the development speed for all process very well. I think you took the understanding for manuscript writing lecture. You have to fully understand the SME work to control the SME position. You could understand the other position work with practice and imitation training, but I will focus on PM and ID work for you guys because you take the content development at first time and you probably form the development team. I mean, you are a supervisor. We called you when he or she want to make e-learning education. However, I don't worry. If you can make a good planning and design as a PM or ID, you can hire good designer and cameraman to make a high quality output or outsourcing. I show you the ID work also can be an outsourcing. But several cases in e-learning field, PM or PL position produce the prototype storyboard. So you should know the ID work. I will set up the practical ID work training with your syllabus and manuscript. And if you guys finish up earlier, I will provide a professional cases. It is good to take a lot of types of development because technology application is different each other. I will try to hand down my method knowledge for you. But it is up to you how much take it. Today, we studied the process of content development with position. Now is start. But I want you to know that who somebody only know the traditional education, he cannot survive on IT industrial age and future also. Because e-learning and traditional education cannot compare each other. The price, teacher quality, education time, classroom, even management. I think learning the e-learning content development is fun and somebody will take a relative job. All right, I will introduce a little bit what you guys run in Korea. We will take more detailed process by the position type with practice and how to make a plan for the e-learning content development and the timing. When you have to make and put the several input, you also could run how to set up the learning flow with the instructional design theory. As you see the slide, you have to set up this output style with the e-learning flow. You also can see the case of manuscript and output style. And then you will try to set up the e-learning flow with output style. I will remove this kind of theory, but you will take this necessary knowledge for the content development. Don't worry, I will ask you to organize the theory into the content. Just you need take a step-by-step the training. And then you could get your own content. If I have a chance, I want eat Korean food together, what I show you. I think you worry about the food in Korea, but I'm sure when you're back to your home, you will miss the Korean food. Here's rarely have the halal food. I recommend bring as much as you need. And my coworker, he is Muslim, we love you. This is today's keyword. Today, we learn about procedure, position. I told you at the first time, procedure, edit model, situation, input and output. And secondly, I told you position, media source, and PM position, I focused on it. So I introduced detail of courses in the invitation training. Now you have to prepare, come to Korea. I think every education is not enough to make as an expert. I want to say, if you want to be an expert, you have to know why I have to put my time on it. So I focused you have come to value for spending your time to run e-learning content development. I wish you can feel the value of it. Thank you for listening and see you soon.